Hello everybody, welcome to Germany, welcome to the Norisring, welcome to race 18 of the season for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. It's our sixth event of what has been an action-packed, sometimes controversial, always exciting Formula 3 Championship. The car's about to come onto the grid. We have got a slight delay to the start of the race because of some barrier repairs that had to be done down at the first corner, the Grundig hairpin, after an incident in the first race of the day, which was for the Audi TT Cup. So the cars are only just making their way onto the grid. The race expected to start 7 or 8 minutes behind schedule. I'm Chris Hartley, trackside here for you at the Norisring, and alongside me, it's a very good morning to Dave Richardson.
Chris, I'm expecting another humdinger of a Formula 3 race. Whatever anyone says about the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, it's certainly never boring, is it?
There was a time we used to say that you can't overtake in Formula 3 and they just follow each other around. The opposite has been true, hasn't it? Not just this year, to be fair. Last year there was some great racing as well within the championship. And just to make the point, we have had 6 different winners in the category so far this season. Our 6th winner coming yesterday in a thrilling finale to the race. Alex Albon had led almost the entire race, but there were several stoppages, several safety cars. He controlled the safety car restart as well, but then George Russell had been shadowing him, had to go for the lead. Charles Leclerc got involved. They all had a battle for the lead. They all led briefly at one point. They all ran out wide, and Max Gunther, who was 4th, well, they were all battling, just drove at the inside of all of them and went from 4th to 1st, and the German took his first win, the first German to win in international Formula 3 competition since Pascal Wehrlein, who was the winner of the DTM race yesterday.
Yeah, and there are a couple of things there that prove the point. And number one is sometimes it just pays to just sit back a little bit, and if there's some battles going on ahead, be ready to pick up the pieces. Exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Second point is, I have to say, I came off the air yesterday feeling a little bit sorry for Alexander Albon.
Yeah.
Because, you know, was it 3 times of asking? He'd four following the safety car. You know, he'd done everything absolutely right, hadn't he? And it was just the final one. He
didn't really do anything wrong. He didn't make a mistake, did he? It was just, you know, George had a go, and then Charles Leclerc had a couple of goes as well, and yeah, he didn't really make a mistake. He looked a bit downbeat on the podium.
Yes, he did.
But then a smile started to come, and I chatted to him briefly before they came out onto the grid in the paddock about 20-25 minutes ago, and he said, yeah, actually, in hindsight, second place was okay, because he did drop to, I think he dropped to 3rd or 4th, didn't he, briefly. So at least he got back on the podium. This is still his best result of the season, and he's got a chance to make amends, because we've got a very good chance, Dave, of having a 7th different winner, because it's Alex who's on pole today.
Absolutely. And he was one of the guys that, you know, I mentioned in the programme yesterday, at the Autosport International show in January this year. I was talking to both George Russell and Alexander Albon. George Russell, of course, won the McLaren Autosport BRDC award. Yep. Alex Albon was one of the finalists, and at that stage, I don't think Alex had revealed that it was going to be FIA F3 this year. George Russell certainly had, and so I was absolutely delighted when it was announced that he was going to be in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship this year. And of course, many people have said, and you made this point right at the start of the programme, that, you know, it's a fantastic series that. Following the success of Max Verstappen last year, everyone's focus and eyes on this championship, not only from a driver perspective, but from a supporter as well, and from a viewer, because, you know, we are seeing potential Formula 1 stars of the future in the making here. Yeah,
this has become the Formula 3 Championship. The British and the German Formula 3 Championships have now folded, and everybody's coming into this. There is Alex Albon on pole position. The McLaren BRDC Autosport Award, which is for talented British drivers. Alex is technically from Thailand, but he's got a twin passport, so he's got a British passport as well. He's grown up. He was born in London. He's raced in karts in England to begin with his career, so that's why he was eligible for the award. We've got Jake Dennis as well, who won the same award in 2012, who is on the grid, and they're another of these very quick drivers from Britain is George Russell, double European karting champion. As you say, the current holder of the very prestigious. I mean, you know, you have to be a good driver to be nominated, let alone to win it.
Yes.
And George, having won the Formula 4 Championship, the BRDC Formula 4 Championship, the British version of the championship, in his first season of car racing last year, was the youngest ever driver of the McLaren BRDC Autosport Award, and has already been one of the race winners this year at his home circuit at Silverstone.
George Russell, of course, with the Trevor Carlin squad. And we see almost two squads here from Carlin, don't we? There's the Jugonya I Am Indonesian tasty chicken branded cars, and then there's the traditional blue Carlin cars as well. But you were saying, just as you came back from your research prior to the start of this race, that the Carlin car's slightly different to the others, Chris?
Yeah, very much so. The track here is a couple of straights connected by two hairpins at either end, and a chicane, a sweeping S section in the middle of the lap. So it's a bit of a compromise on setup because you've got these long straights, but you've got these tight corners where you need the traction as well. But almost everybody has gone for low downforce, so a single plane rear wing. You'll look at the rear wings, a really small rear wing, a single plane on the back of the rear wing, with the exception of the two Carlin teams. So Jugonya I Am, the three yellow cars, and the three blue Carlin cars have got the double pronged rear wing, so they've gone for less straight line speed but a bit more downforce, a bit more grip through the corners. There's probably not much in it, I suspect, because Antonio Giovinazzi, who's one of the championship frontrunners, has been going strongly this weekend.
Yes.
Well, he hasn't won yet, but he looked like he had a good pace to be up there in the mix. So it's a bit of a compromise on setup. The other thing to bear in mind is that they are limited to a certain number of tyres that they can use in the qualifying and race sessions. And there are only two drivers, as far as I could see, that have got 4 new tyres for this race. That's Pietro Fittipaldi, who's in the number 12 car, the Fortec car, and the other one I spotted was Brandon Mazzano, one of the Prema Power Team drivers, the French driver in car number 24. He got 4 new slicks. There are some others with 2 new tyres.
And where are they running them, outside or inside?
They're running them on the outside, so the 2 right-sided tyres would be the new ones. You can still see the pattern on them.
Well, Mazzano, if he's running 4 new tyres, he's going from P7.
That's right, yeah.
That's an interesting little prospect, isn't it?
To see how much difference it makes.
I mean, it was extraordinary. You and I were talking about the first race that was on track here at the Norisring this morning. Now, yesterday, the weather was extraordinary because we had these very, very heavy showers, but they were only showers. They didn't last long, but they affected virtually every race we saw on the track. Today, it's blistering sunshine. It's beautifully warm out there. But as late as midnight last night, where we were having thunderstorms, and the cars that were out there earlier... you made the point that, of course, all the rubber that went down yesterday is being brought to the top of the surface, isn't it, by the rain that has happened overnight. And the track conditions were not as we expected when we watched that first race today. And I wonder if that's going to affect things now. Yeah, the Audi TT Cup were first up at 9 o'clock this morning and actually quite skittish, weren't they? Yes. For the first 7 or 8 laps, there were a few spins, there were a few drivers all over the shop. But they've had a race. We've also had warm-up for DTM, which are renowned for laying lots of rubber down. So that's for sure. It should. I mean, and the temperature's gone up. It's not as it's been in the last couple of days now. So these guys are probably going kind of back towards the setup they had in free practice back on Friday, where it was similar conditions to this. But there's no doubt about it. They will, have to suck it and see it a little bit for the first 2 laps, just to work out how much grip is there and available to them. So busy grid, as you can see, we've got 32 cars on the grid for what's going to be the 18th race of 33 this season. And there's our pole sitter. He had his first pole position in his F3 career yesterday. This is his second. Can he get his first win of the season? Having had a few years in the Formula Renault Championship, Formula Renault Euro Cup, 3rd place for him last year and a race winner in that championship. It's Alex Albon, this exemplary karting pedigree before he came into cars, his first season in F3. George Russell is the driver that lines up alongside. They were divided up into 2 different groups of qualifying because you can't realistically fit them all on the track at the same time. George was quickest in his group by 85 thousandths of a second, which got him second on the grid. Alex Albon was the quickest in the other group, so that's why he's got pole. And George Russell having... I think pretty much his strongest weekend in terms of out-and-out performance since Silverstone. He's been there or thereabouts most of the races. He was on the podium at Spa as well, wasn't he? And you've made the point in his defence, as we look at Antonio Giovinazzi, that, of course, for George, and to a degree Alex as well, they're having to learn new tracks all the time, aren't they? Yeah, absolutely. And, that's a big ask of anyone, and to get on terms very, very quickly. Racing Steps Foundation supported Jake Dennis, who will feel he was extremely unlucky yesterday, Chris. Absolutely. 2 DNFs for Jake. He came into the weekend second in the championship off the back of a brace of wins at Spa. He took 2 wins at Pau as well, almost 3. Desperately unlucky not to take all 3 at Pau.
with a car failure right at the end of the race. But yeah, he was out twice yesterday, and very upset with Santino Ferrucci, who didn't hit him directly. Ferrucci was 2 places behind him, went up the inside of Giovinazzi. They made contact, they ran wide, and Jake Dennis was the one who was collected.
And he really was an innocent party, wasn't he? He was just in the wrong place.
Very unhappy, and as a championship front runner, to get 2 DNFs at this stage is very bad news indeed. In fact, it's not been a good weekend for a lot of the front runners in the championship. Felix Rosenqvist had a 3rd in race 1, but he was out of the points yesterday because he got a penalty, a drive-through penalty for being out of position on the grid. So Felix Rosenqvist, the most winning driver, not picking any points in race 2, and Giovinazzi, as I said, got clattered off in race 2 as well. So he didn't pick up any points. The one that has been picking up points is Charles Leclerc, who has now got a 54.5 point lead in the championship. Half points awarded for 2 of the races at Monza, which we've got this slightly strange point scenario. But Charles Leclerc has got 257.5 points. He's had a win and a 3rd this weekend. Second is Felix Rosenqvist, back on 203. 1 point behind him is Giovinazzi on 202, and Jake Dennis has stayed put on 189.
Felix Rosenqvist is the man that we're looking at now. Of course, he's had a number of seasons in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and this season for Felix is it's the one he has absolutely got to win, isn't it?
Yeah, there's yesterday's race winner, Max Gunther, starting from 9th this time. 4th in the first race. But yeah, Felix, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's finished 2nd, he's finished 3rd in the championship. Last year didn't work out. He's won all the major races. He's won the Masters, he's won at Macau, he's won the Po Grand Prix. He's had his 100th race in International Formula 3 yesterday, so he's his 101st race. The most experienced driver out there, the most winning driver out there. He's done everything but win the championship. And he's had, he's not the only one, but he's had some bad luck this year.
Yes.
But when it works, like it did at Monza, rather, 3 wins out of 3. He's there. He's got the pace. He's got the experience. Mikkel Jensen has been on the podium this year, and had a slightly torrid weekend. Gustavo Meneses had a torrid time with you at Spa last weekend. He was upside down. Can't quite see it from that angle, but the team have stuck on the side of his cockpit his name on upside down because he went flying upside down through the air at Spa. But he's had a solid weekend, Gustavo, this weekend. He's had a couple of 7th place finishes, and he's avoided a lot of the carnage, and he's going well. And there is Santino Ferrucci, who's not had a good weekend. He had a stormer here last year in what was one of his early races in Formula 3, having joined the championship midway through. But the Californian, who finished 4th and 5th in 2 races here last year, hasn't picked up any points so far, and has been given a 5-place grid penalty for this race based on that incident that we talked about yesterday.
And we've talked a lot about driving standards in Formula 3 because it has come into focus, particularly after Monza and particularly after Spa, and doubtless will be in conversation following this event at Norisring as well. But what we perhaps sometimes lose sight of is, some of these drivers are learning tracks for the first time. They are young, and they're desperate to propel their career as well. And actually, Chris, on the whole, the driving standards are pretty good, aren't they? Yeah,
I mean, it has come in for some stick. It has been a big talking point with Monza and what happened also at Spa, and a couple of the incidents yesterday weren't massive incidents, but there are a few niggly incidents. But it's not everybody. There's some really good driving. We've seen some great overtaking from this weekend, and certainly at Monza there was some great passing from Jake Dennis and Charles Leclerc, and those two give each other room, and Felix Rosenqvist to give each other room and respect. Giovinazzi, another strong driver, and he's one of the ranked drivers because he's the highest returning driver from last year. He was 6th in the championship. The top 5 from last year have all moved on to do other things like DTM, Formula 1, GP3. So there is a lot of skill out there. There have been some errors. There has been a lack of patience from drivers, a lack of foresight really, and thinking ahead, trying to defend the position or attack for the position rather than waiting, for the next lap, because a lot of these incidents are not coming on the last lap, 2 laps of the race. They're coming in the first half of the race, so there's still a lot of time to go.
It's interesting that Emanuele Pirro was at Spa and has been nurturing some of these drivers, and drivers got an awful lot of respect for him, and talking to various people across last weekend and this weekend as well, the drivers, they see this individual that has been so successful Russell, and he has a completely different way of addressing the driver base, if you like, and everyone has respect for him, and I think an awful lot of what he has said has gone in.
And in fairness, the FIA, the organisers of the championship, have been, pretty fervent in stamping their authority on this and putting pay to it. At Monza, they said, if you carry on like this, we're going to end race 3 behind the safety car, and they did it. They've given drivers exclusions from races, they've given drivers penalties, and when it starts hurting your championship and your points, and you're paying money and you're not going racing, then it makes them think. So there's definitely been an improvement this weekend. Tricky conditions at race 1,
yes,
and by and large they all behaved well. It's a street circuit, so there are always going to be incidents. You could argue the same at Monza as well with the chicanes. There's almost always an incident in Formula 1 there. These guys are supposed to be the best drivers in the world. I'm not excusing some of the incidents that have happened. There have been some instances of silly driving, but I don't want everybody to tarnish these drivers with the same brush, because there's some great drivers out there as well.
You're right. So the back of the pack coming into their grid positions then, and those that are on the front have quite a wait before everyone gets onto the grid. And there is our pole sitter Alex Albon then, who as we get the green flag from the marshal at the rear, Chris, this race 3 of the weekend for the FIA Formula 3 Championship, about to get underway.
Alex Albon from pole, looking for his first win in international Formula 3 racing. Away we go. George Russell's made another good start, but look at this. Giovinazzi with a rocket start has got the lead. Jake Dennis is going to try and get second place. He's got a grunt run going into the hairpin, going to get his first points of the weekend. He's wide into the corner. Giovinazzi gets the lead. Russell is still second, but Jake Dennis has got the inside line for the right-hander coming up into the S's. Let's have a look. Is Dennis going to get through? Yes, he is. Second place. Russell third. And there is an example of two drivers pushing each other hard, but showing each other respect and giving themselves the room. But the safety car already has been deployed, and it's not for an incident.
No.
In terms of crashes, it's for two drivers stalled on the grid.
Absolutely blistering start from Antonio Giovinazzi, now blistering start from Jake Dennis as well, who, of course, is desperate to salvage something from this weekend. And the point you made that I wholeheartedly agree with is there were two drivers that were really giving each other respect and room, weren't there?
Matt Solomon and Sam McLeod are the two drivers that have made not an inch of progress in this race. So a very disappointing weekend for both. Matt struggled a bit. Sam has shown reasonable pace this weekend and looked like he might get into the points at one or two occasions, but he's not even going to get the chance here. So Matt Solomon, his claim to fame is that a couple of years ago he raced with Mika Hakkinen in GT racing. As we see, I'm afraid the Prema car of Lance Stroll is minus its front wing. Now Lance is one of the drivers who had a couple of new tyres on the right, but he's not going to be able to use that now. Giovinazzi was another. Felix Rosenqvist another with two new tyres. As far as I could make out, I don't think Jake Dennis had got new tyres on. I think he's using used tyres for this one. Didn't affect his start though. Lance Stroll, one of these drivers that has been airborne this year and involved in incidents and criticised, but he's kept his head down this weekend. He's picked up points. He's shown a good turn of speed, the Canadian, as Matt Solomon's car is pushed off the grid. There's enough of them to do it. 24 people pushing the car off the grid.
Now the wing is off the
front wing off
the front wing is off the McLeod car.
So did they stall? We didn't see it, or
was there
a bit of contact? Did one car stall and another one hit it? Was he concentrating on what was going on?
Let's have a look here.
Back down the grid.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Solomon stalled and McLeod went into the back of him. There were a couple of others further down the grid that were struggling off the line as well. I think Ryan Tvetter might have been one of them in the yellow Jaguar I Am car. He got going eventually. One or two others stuttered off the line. And McLeod with nowhere to go there. You expect to be accelerating at full whack. The car ahead doesn't start. No time to hit the brakes. Look at that start from Giovinazzi. He's put some good starts together this year. He's been one of the best starters. A few lockups behind. Gustavo Meneses had to take to the very, very inside of the track to avoid running into people, but they all safely made it through. Jake Dennis slung it around the outside.
And he remained committed around the outside as well,
and then knew he'd have the inside line for the next corner, which is what got him into second place. I think the only thing that might cheer Jake up this weekend is a win.
Yeah.
And, well, he might as well go for it, and he's got a lot of points to try and make up now on our championship leader, Charles Leclerc, who incidentally had a decent start as well, and he's in fourth place. So it's Giovinazzi, Dennis, Russell, Leclerc, the top four. Alex Albon a slip back to fifth place. And then Dorian Bacalacci had a good start yesterday as well. The signature teammate of Alex Albon is there in 6th position. Brendan Mazzano with his new tyres on is 7th. And yesterday's race winner Max Gunther, the double runner-up in the German Formula Masters Championship, is 8th. Sergio Sette Camara, who was in the points until the last lap of race 2 yesterday, the Mexican, is 9th, and Gustavo Meneses is 10th.
Safety car is coming in, the lights have been extinguished, and we will go racing. And 35-minute race, and we have just on 31 minutes left to run. So the race hasn't really started. Will in earnest now, and Jake Dennis finds himself in that P2 position following a supreme start from both P1 and P2. Antonio Giovinazzi and Jake Dennis.
25 points for a win, 18 for second, 15 for third, points for the top 10. So there is quite a big difference between first and second. It's the FIA point system. So there is a big incentive here to go for the win for Jake Dennis to try and make these points up that he's lost over the course of the weekend. Giovinazzi has also lost points, and he won't be easy to beat here. Giovinazzi won the Pau Grand Prix when Jake Dennis's car suffered a suspension failure almost within sight of the checkered flag. These two very strong drivers, and look at that for a move there from is it George Russell? No, it's Leclerc running through the middle of the pair of them. Jake Dennis has to dive out of the way, and so George Russell will pick up second place. Dennis drops to third. Leclerc has had a couple of really brave moves on the brakes, hasn't he, into the hairpin this weekend. He has to be careful not to lose his 4th place to Alex Albon, though. I think he has. Albon's through, so Albon 4th, so going for the position. Leclerc has actually cost himself a few places here. They're all ganging up on each other again. Jake Dennis has got the inside line. They're trying to go around the outside of him now. Is Alex Albon. Don't run into the wall. He just about avoids it. That's a super move from Alex Albon, isn't it? There was not a centimetre to spare, and he squeezed through. And now Jake Dennis is going to pick up the toe and try and get him back, Dave.
We've seen some brilliant driving from Alex Albon. And, well, look at Leclerc as well. And Jake Dennis is right in the mix there too. They go 3 abreast around. It's a long way around the outside. And further back, we have another clattering together. It looks like one of the Chiconio IM cars.
Menezes, I think. Minus it's Gustavo Menezes minus a front wing who's come off worst out of all that. Jake Dennis has still got them flying after him. Bearing in mind, I don't think he's got the freshest tyres on that car.
Safety car again, Chris.
Right. Bit of respite for Jake then, because he's having to look in his mirrors left, right. He's having to look to his side, behind him. That's Max Gunther, isn't it, I'm afraid, that was involved in that incident. He's actually come off worse than Menezes.
It almost seems that we see the best from Alex Albon when he's been put back. Do you know what I mean? He really gets a bit between his teeth.
Some move, wasn't it, to get the place? And there's the replay. Yeah, Menezes coming together with Gunther. And I think the left tyre is completely off Gunther's car. That's where he's come to a halt. Front wing is off for Menezes. And it was Menezes trying to go at the inside of Sergio Sette Camara, actually, rather than necessarily going for the move on Gunther. Gunther was 2 places ahead of him and has been the innocent party in all of that. A broken suspension, a missing front wing. Gustavo is not going to pick up his 3rd points finish of the weekend, I'm afraid. The American puts the steering wheel back and he's out of the race. So a couple of cars to be cleared up here.
Menezes is under investigation for that move as well.
Bit hot on the brakes, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Front left was locked up and he couldn't slow the car down in time. I think Camara got away with it. He's still running well, looks things. Yeah, 11th. He lost a couple of places, but he's still out there. So, highs and lows of motorsport, eh? Winning yesterday, out of the race today. They're all going to have this, though, aren't they? They're all going 33 races. You're not going to have 33 good races, are you? Even Charles Leclerc hasn't had good races every time. He's had a couple of damn points. So, driver's okay. That's the main thing. It's always at this hairpin, Dave, because it's one of the key overtaking opportunities, really, taking. And these Formula 3 cars are doing 240 kilometres an hour, and they come down to this very tight hairpin, the Grunding hairpin, the first of them. And, you've only got to miss your braking point by half a second, and you're going in too hot. Absolutely. You brake too early, and they all come past you. So, not an easy spot to get right. Look at the length of the straight there that they come into it with. Equally, though, you've got to be quick out of the corner, as we've seen from Jake Dennis. get the acceleration out and try and get the run into the S's. So Giovinazzi leads. Russell is second. Albon third. Going to get a replay now. Yeah, Meda says lost control there, and I think Kamara did get away with it. Lost a place or two.
Yes.
He clattered into Gunther's Muka teammate there. Jensen, as he got back online. So he was without damage, but Gunther took the brunt of that. And again, completely innocent in all of that. So disappointment for the German, who hitherto had a very good weekend with a fourth and a first place finish. But no further will he go. That car is out. And actually, Sergio Sette Camara has just stopped as well. I can see on the screen. So he obviously did pick up some sort of damage to the car. So 3 out from that incident. Safety car out for the second time in the race. And I don't know, probably up to about 10th time of the weekend.
I was going to say, it's been fairly littered over the weekend, hasn't it, with its use.
Kamara's going to be in the race still, but he's had to pit for repairs to the car. And he's, unfortunately for him, he might stay on the lead lap.
Oh,
just about.
Just.
Well done, team. So the Mexican, that was critical, stays out now. If the safety car's out for a couple more laps, he'll be able to catch up to the back of the pack. Still going to be at last, but Motor Park, the German team, have done well to get him around. And so it's not going from bad to worse, isn't it? I know it's, as I say, Sam McLeod, I think it's the same incident, isn't it? I thought he perhaps had got going again, had another incident, but no, this is from the start line incident. And as well as missing his front wing, the front tyre came off when Matt Solomon stalled, and Sam McLeod, who was right behind him on the grid, went into him with absolutely no chance of missing the stalled car. Both drivers absolutely fine though, because they can be a bit hairy, can't they, start line incidents, but not too much speed had been built up because they were right behind one another.
Sergio Sette Camara is under investigation for leaving the pit lane under a red light.
Here's a replay. You can see the red light there.
So
he was so keen, understandably, to get out.
To get out and back on the... I mean, it's clearly red, isn't it?
I think the officials have thought that this is a bit tight, this is a bit dangerous. If the safety car had been a bit further back, it'd have been a green light.
Yeah.
Disappointing. I totally understand what he was going for. He's trying to stay in the lead lap, but if the red light's on, that's the rule. He was probably so focused on what he was doing that he didn't spot it. Yeah. So disappointing for Sergio, who on another day could have had a couple of points finishes here this weekend. He certainly improved in recent times. That podium at Spa. Motor Park are going to try and get Sam McLeod's car out by the looks of things. They'll give it up.
At the end of the day, it can be used as a test session for them, can't they? That, not going to achieve anything in the race, but they can achieve some running, which...
So we've got just over 23 minutes left on the clock. 35 minutes is the maximum running time, as I'm sure you know if you've been watching Formula 3 this year or for the last couple of years. And the maximum number of laps is 42. It's whichever comes first. So Antonio Giovinazzi, who is, fourth in the standings, but only 1 point behind Felix Rosenqvist. Sorry, third in the standings, but only 1 point behind Felix Rosenqvist. He's leading the race. He's looking for his third win of the year. He won the first race at Hockenheim. He won the third race at Po. In the first 9 races of the championship, he was never off the podium. So he was the front runner in the championship, but it's gone slightly awry for him in recent rounds, dropped points. But he leads, the Italian. George Russell is there in second place. George in the top 6 in the championship. Alex Albon back up to third place. He started from pole, he dropped to 5th, but back up to 3rd with that good move.
Safety car is coming in this lap, and Sergio Sette Camara is going to get a drive-through penalty for leaving the pit lane with the red light on. Probably no surprise there.
Jake Dennis will restart this in 4th. Charles Leclerc 5th. Dorian Bacalacci having a good run in 6th. Okay, then starting to build up the speed, ready to get going again. Got Brandon Bazzano, Santino Ferrucci, Mikkel Jensen and Marcus Pommer in the top 10 as well. Callum Ilott in the Red Bull backed car just outside the top 10 in 11th place as the race gets back underway, and the leader looks clear, but 2nd and 3rd could be tight into the hairpin.
Absolutely it could. Giovinazzi had backed them up nicely as they go into the hairpin now. The inside trying to wrestle away P4.
Leclerc, wasn't it, trying to go around the outside of Dennis, but again backed out of the move sensibly. So He's also got to keep an eye on Dorian Bacalacci, Alex Albon's signature teammate, who is trying to get in the mix. And this is the drive-through penalty for the Mexican, Sergio Seti Camara. Green light's on this time, so you can go. Look at Alex Albon.
He's looking feisty again, isn't he?
Very much so. Jake Dennis has edged clear of Charles Leclerc, who is definitely coming under a bit of pressure from Dorian Bacalacci. And they've got Brandon Mazzano, the French driver, in car number 7, Prema Power Team teammate to Jake Dennis, and Felix Rosenquist and Lance Stroll with the new tyres on. This is Callum Ilott trying to get himself into the points in the Red Bull liveried car, trying to go around the outside of Marcus Pommer. Doesn't work, and then Alessio Lorandi almost runs into the back of him as Callum had to get off the throttle. But I think he'll hold his position. Alessio is having a look again into the next corner, but I think Callum Ilott will hold on to 11th place.
So there is our race leader, Giovinazzi. George Russell is P2. Albon is P3.
Santino Ferrucci trying something a bit different around the outside of Brandon Mazzano. Ferrucci in the number 5 Muka Motorsport car. He's got a good drive, though, coming onto the start-finish straight here. So he'll pick up a toe. He might have a go into the hairpin. Meanwhile, Leclerc and Dennis fighting hard again, but fighting fairly. Leclerc around the outside. What a move from the Monegasque, the championship leader in car number 7. Yeah, he's just got more grip. I think Jake is struggling a bit with the tyres there, and down to 5th place now for Jake Dennis, with Dorian Bacalacci just behind him in 6th position. So the race started very well for Jake, but ultimately I don't think he's quite got the pace this weekend.
You did mention that you didn't think Jake Dennis was running new tyres, so if others around him have got pairs of news on, then that's probably helping them, and Jake is paying the consequences, perhaps. And
he's had good pace this weekend. He's been certainly good enough to be on the podium, but I'm not sure he's had winning pace like he's shown at Spa and like he showed at Po. What a move this was, though, from Charles Leclerc around the outside. You can see Jake giving him the room there as well, trying to get him back on the way out of the corner. A lot of respect between these two drivers. And Charles Leclerc in the points again, 4th place. If he can't win, we'll be on the podium. 4th or 5th will be okay. He's the most consistent driver of the year, that's for sure. He's the one with the most point scoring finishes. So Giovinazzi, Russell and Albon still the top 3. Leclerc sprinting away now from Dennis and trying to catch up with those top 3. As Albon again has a cheeky look at the inside, this time into the Duxton-Dyke curve at the 2nd hairpin.
So Bacalacci then on the back of Jake Dennis was very, very close indeed. And I wonder whether now he's going to line something up here. As we look at the P2 driver, there is Giovinazzi, who is leading. And Bacalacci just taking a look around the outside there of Jake Dennis, but unable to do anything. Santino Ferrucci is the next car behind Giovinazzi with 9/10 over George Russell when they cross the timing line. Through the Choleresses they come. And for the moment, Jake Dennis has seized the march from Bacalacci, who's trying to get on terms with him. And we'll feel that an opportunity exists there. He's seen people pass Jake Dennis, and he wants to buy into that as well. Now, whether, again, he will try and set it up now. One very much to keep an eye on, I think.
Yeah, Bacalacci struggled a bit at the start of the season. This is his maiden run in the championship as well as another of the rookies. Trying again to look around the outside of Jake Dennis, but he started to come good of late. He had a 5th place finish at Spa. This has been his best weekend by a long shot. He's been in the points in both races. He might get in the points again here today. And he likes a street circuit, does Dorian. He's only 16 years old, but he finished 2nd in the French Formula 4 Championship last year. And 2 of his wins came at Po, at the street circuit there. So he likes the tight, twisty street circuit. And he's going well. The livery on those cars of Alex Albon and Dorian Bacalacci, the signature drivers, the French run team, is very much Lotus-based because they're both Lotus Formula 1 junior drivers. So at the head of the field, 0.9 of a second is the gap from 1st to 2nd. 2nd to 3rd, the gap is down to half a second. So Albon and then Leclerc is just a couple of tenths behind them as well. 2nd, 3rd and 4th all together now at the hairpin. 5th, 6th and 7th together as well. Because joining the party is Santino Ferrucci, who was involved in the incident with Jake Dennis yesterday. So Jake will be slightly nervously looking in the mirrors, I suspect.
And of course, Boccolacci has now had to focus his attention on defending for Ferrucci, hasn't he, rather than attacking Dennis. So, for the moment, Jake Dennis will be able to breathe perhaps just a sigh of relief. You can see how he's got gapped now back to Boccolacci, because Boccolacci is having to think about Santino Ferrucci, who is right on his gearbox.
So Boccolacci in the black number 20 car, the signature car, crosses the line, trying to edge away the Volkswagen powered car. The vast majority of the field powered by either VW or Mercedes engines. Part of the T-Sport team this season, which has run Neil Brown engines. That's Boccolacci.
Oh, no.
Goes for the inside. That again clattered out of the way. He's Jake Dennis. He'll be wondering what on earth he's done to deserve all of this, but Boccolacci went for it, but he had to go on the curbs to go for it. He slid out of control. He slid into the side of Dennis, and Dennis then, who had to get out of the way, sharpish, had to give another place up to Santino Ferrucci. So
that corner in Jake Dennis this weekend has not been a good one, has it?
No. I mean, he went off there last year and on a damp track and ran into Tom Blomqvist. It is the corner where it all happens, but Jake was a little bit wide because I think he's struggling with the tyres. Dorian, touring car type move, that forces his way through. I don't think it'll be too much damage to the car. It's pretty square on here. It was a genuine attempt. It wasn't a silly move, but it was a bit 50-50 that, but it worked for Dorian, and through he has gone. But Jake Dennis, it's a weekend to forget, I'm afraid, for the Brit.
Dorian is under investigation for that move, and I suspect that will be for cutting the corner a bit there. So we will see what news reaches us on the message screen. What we do know is that Jake Dennis has ended up losing 2 places there.
Yeah, down to 7th place now. Felix Rosenquist, his teammate, who's had a couple of mid-grids for races 2 and 3. He got 5th on the grid for race 1 based on the first qualifying session, but the second qualifying session went badly for him, and so he's had to start lower down for races 2 and 3. He's only 14th, just behind Tatiana Calderon, who's got closer than she's been all season to getting points this year, with the exception of that fantastic run at Spa, where she led for a time. Jake Dennis, he's just struggling to slow the car down, isn't he, into that hairpin.
He's got
it's Mikkel Jensen behind him, hasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. Ramazano 9th. Callum Eilot's come up into the points for the first time this weekend. So Callum Eilot into 10th place now. Another of the rookies fresh from karting and run by the Carlin team. Alessio Lorandi, who's similar in that he's come straight from karting. He's just behind in 11th place. Boccolacci's dropped back behind Dennis now, or is about to. Jensen's going to have a go as well. Boccolacci going backwards for some reason here. He's lost a place. He might lose 2 by the time we get to the hairpin, with Mikkel Jensen nosing in front now in the orange 27 car.
Look at the pace Ferrucci has got now that he's been released from that gaggle.
Look at this, almost weaving this way than that to try and find a line into the corner. A bit tight and a bit deep into the corner was Jake Dennis there. He might give his position up because Mikkel Jensen will have the better run out of the corner. Now he's weaving this way, that to try and find a way through. But Jake just about gets away with this, but he's struggling with that car. That car is not working as well as it can do. And Jake is just digging his heels in here, just trying to scramble a few points from this desperately unlucky weekend. But Mikkel Jensen, he's got more grip, he's got more traction, he's the quicker of the 2 drivers. Callum Eilot just behind, having a look at the inside, and did he gain a place? I think he might be about to. No, not quite.
They are queuing up behind Jake Dennis here, aren't they? And well, let's see. He tries to defend his position, but there is only so much that he is going to be able to do as they run now this very, very long straight into this tight turn.
Jensen's through.
He is, and well, it's another place lost for Jake Dennis. You're absolutely right. He's struggling with the handling of that car, isn't he?
Callum Eilot wheel to wheel with Brandon Mazzano in the background. He'll have the inside line, and Callum goes through. Good move. He's putting a really good race together here, but oh dear, there's more drama down at the hairpin. That is Nabil Jeffrey, the turquoise and white motorpark car, and it is the number 14 of Matt Rao, who has had 1 or 2 non-finishes this year as well.
And for the 3rd time of asking then, guess what?
SC, the graphic which we've seen quite a lot this year. Safety car. Gonna get a sore arm waving that yellow flag, that Marshall, isn't he?
Now, Giovinazzi had built a margin of 1.2 over George Russell.
Yeah.
That will count as naught now, as they're all bunched up behind the safety car for the 3rd time of asking. Just getting information that there's going to be no further action on Boccolacci.
misjudgment from Nabil Jeffrey, I'm afraid.
Right.
Similar to the move of Buckle, actually went for the inside, skitted over the curbs, and as you can see, Matt Rao smacked into in the number 14 car, the Fortec car. Arjun Miney, the first to benefit from that, gaining a couple of places. Arjun is struggling this weekend because he's been given 10-place grid penalties for all 3 races after an engine change following free practice.
You can see Matt Rao then hold his hand up to say why.
About, yeah. Going into the corner, he was 3 lengths clear, something like that. I don't think it was really attempting to overtake. He just misjudged the braking point. Easily done at that hairpin, as I've said, and that is where, what, 90% of the incidents have happened this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
So Giovinazzi leads. Just before that had happened, we were watching the battle a bit further back in the top 6. Alex Albon had set the fastest first sector and had got right onto the tail of George Russell. So now he's got these podiums under his belt. He's trying to tick off a race win here. Be interested if he can get past George Russell. Has he got the pace to challenge Giovinazzi? This is good news for Albon. If he can get past on this restart, that's not going to be easy because George Russell is a great racer. He'll fancy his chances of having a go at Giovinazzi. He'd built up a slight cushion, but wasn't really any quicker than those 2 behind him.
No.
So it's Giovinazzi, Russell, Albon, Leclerc, who's, despite having this big points lead, not afraid to have a go this weekend. Down at the hairpin, he's pulled off some late braking moves, hasn't he? Last of the late breakers. Ferrucci has turned his weekend around because he is going great guns, as you said. He's flying, isn't he? He's in 5th place. His teammate from Muka Motorsport, the German team, is Mikkel Jensen, and he is 6th, the Dane. 7th is Jake Dennis, but struggling. Dorian Bacalacci fell back a bit as well to 8th. Callum Ilott is 9th, and 10th is Brendan Mazzano, with Alessio Lorandi and Marcus Pommer, and then Felix Rosenquist 11th, 12th and 13th. Tatiana Calderon 14th.
So the Matt Rao car is being recovered. The recovery teams here at the Norisring have had a lot of work to do this weekend.
They're used to it though, aren't they?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, it's all set up with the cranes and everything, with the street circuit, knowing that there's no runoff. If a car stops, it's going to stop on the circuit or just adjacent to it, not out of the way in a gravel trap. So the cranes are there. There's gaps in the fencing, and like at Poe, really, they are well versed in dealing with these incidents quickly. But you still lose laps because it's such a short lap that even though the safety car's bunching them up, it still takes a few laps to get it cleared. Now, a replay of Boccolacci going slowly. I think he's got some sort of issue, hasn't he?
Yes.
He was going really well once he got past Jake Dennis, and now he's suddenly suffering a bit with something. This was the move on Dennis. Airborne over the curbs, and then clatters into Dennis. Sends Dennis wide. Boccolacci got through at that point. Dennis is now back in front of him because something's gone slightly adrift with his car. And Ferrucci was then released past the pair of them to go after the lead group. So I suppose he's another one to watch, Ferrucci, here, isn't he? He's, the pace that he's shown, his next target would be Charles Leclerc. We have got 7 minutes 53 seconds left on the clock. The safety car is coming in on this lap.
Okay.
Could be a tasty race. We had a fantastic finish to the race yesterday, didn't we? Several changes of lead. Could be something similar here. There's some very quick drivers at the head of the field. The green flag is waved, but Giovinazzi is the master of these restarts. He has given himself a nice cushion going down to the hairpin for the first time. George Russell will be late on the brakes. There's much to defenders to try and close the gap. Albon stays 3rd, Leclerc stays 4th. And Dennis again coming under fire from Boccolacci at the back of that group, but no changes inside the top 10. And breathe a sigh of relief, they're all through the hairpin.
Yes, through the shoulder rest they go now. And Jake Dennis really is having to make that car as wide as possible, but Giovinazzi, as you rightly identified, a brilliant restart from him. And there's George Russell, Alex Albon and Leclerc, and there does make that move. Boccolacci does go through on Jake Dennis, so Jake Dennis loses another place.
Yeah, struggling with the car, isn't he? Forget about this weekend and press the reset button for next time out. I think Jake, it's just been one of those weekends Although he'll keep fighting. No, he'll keep fighting. That's for sure. Every point might count in this championship. Every single point. He's still in the points in 8th place. Through the hairpin they go once again. And again with no dramas. There's Giovinazzi. There's Russell. There's Albon. As close as you can say it. And whistling ever closer to that concrete wall. Judging it to perfection. They get really close to the inside barrier here as well, don't they? A big lock up there from Santino Ferrucci, who's just about done a full season now in the championship. Come through the Skip Barber series. Matt Rao is forced into the role of sad spectator, I'm afraid. It's been a difficult season for him. Giovinazzi's edging clear, I think, Dave.
I think you're right. And the pace that Ferrucci had, I don't think is there at the moment.
Callum Eilert is about to slip past Jake Dennis. Tidy move. Jake's just understeering through the hairpin. I think he's just got no grip there. And keeps running wide. And Eilert slipped past. And Callum's up to 8th place now. So, yeah, very good run here. And the next one to attack Jake Dennis will be Alessio Larandi in the bright yellow and blue Van Amersfoort car. So
Giovinazzi at the front is utterly faultless, isn't he? He's putting that car exactly where it needs to be. And what's he got? 8/10 over George Russell?
Yeah. He's
9
quick.
now.
Been quick this weekend. He's always quick. But, yeah, the win will be very useful towards getting him back up towards Charles Leclerc. So Giovinazzi's on for 25 points for the win. As Jake Dennis defends again from Alessio Larandi. These are 9th and 10th, these two. Larandi in the points now. The points finishers, but marked by Italians. There's the lead Italian. Larandi in 10th place, holding on to the single point at the moment.
The point you mentioned earlier on is, of course, that Dennis wants to keep in the points, doesn't he, with every single point counting.
Stays like this, then race leader. If he becomes the race winner, Giovinazzi will close the gap to Leclerc in terms of the points by 13, because it's only 12 points for 4th place for Leclerc. But overall this weekend, certainly the biggest points haul has gone the way of the Monegasque driver. Only just over 4 minutes left on the clock then. So it's going to go to time by the looks of things with these safety cars that we've had. But we've got a battle on our hands, Dave, for 2nd place here between Russell, Albon and Leclerc. They are 3 of them glued together.
So running wide there. And there is our race leader, and this is where the first of the battles, then it's this second battle that's going on as well for 6th, 7th and 8th place. But there is Antonio Giovinazzi, who has built up a wonderful cushion. George Russell, Alex Albon and Charles Leclerc is really hounding Albon now. Also hounding Jensen there is Boccolacci.
For you, Charles Leclerc, the championship leader, 54.5 points cleared. Do you stick or twist now in 4th place? Do you go for the 12 points and say, it's been a good weekend, I've had a win, I've got more points on the championship leader? Or do you have a go? I think race 2 yesterday had a go, didn't he?
Yeah, and that was against what we thought would happen.
And the 2 Muka teammates try to switch around here. Ferrucci, is he going to lose the place to Mikkel Jensen? Just behind them is Dorian Boccolacci. And here they come. They're going to be side by side into the next turn as well. It's going to be tight between these two. Who's going to get there first? It is going to be Mikkel Jensen. So he's got through ahead of Ferrucci. It all started up at the hairpin. The 2 teammates switch around. Mikkel's had a difficult weekend as well. This is much more like the sort of recent form that we've seen. Number 5, Ferrucci tries to come back at him. Boccolacci has got his head down again now. But he slipped back a few places. I think perhaps it was a mistake or a very short glitch with the car, because Boccolacci's quick again now. So that was the initial move from Jensen down the inside of the hairpin, but he ran deep into the corner. Ferrucci came back at him. They were wheel to wheel, but Jensen had the line into the hairpin. 2.5 minutes to go. No change for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. We've got a 4-way battle now with Callum Eilert joining this scrap for 5th place.
So we continue to watch that. To Muka Motorsport cars there with the familiar Cave Styler livery. There is our race leader, though, Giovinazzi. And Leclerc, we've said, you know, he's very rounded.
Ooh, good
Boccolacci.
move.
Boccolacci, is he going to make it stick? No, not quite.
Good try.
We were saying that Leclerc is very rounded, and he'll, you know, drive with his head and think about banking points rather than going for a devil-may-care move. As Boccolacci once again here, it's long drag down towards the hairpin. Runs deep, though, into the corner. And
he'll be okay. He's got the inside line for the S's, hasn't he? He'll be okay. I think Boccolacci's going to get the place here. Ferrucci's going to have to concede the position. And so to 6th place goes the Frenchman. Or does he? Ferrucci's a fighter, that's for sure. No. Squeezes back alongside him. Watch for Callum Eilert just behind as well. Almost into the wall there. 3 abreast. They're going to be coming onto the straight here. Ferrucci dug his heels in there. Look at Callum Eilert. He's broken up the party. He's split the pair of them. Callum pouncing there. He's got the inside line. Boccolacci's got no choice but to stay on the outside. But eventually he'll have to get out of the way. And Callum Eilert is through. And I think his best run for some time. He's up to 7th place now. Meanwhile, a lap or so ago, Jake Dennis, I'm afraid, dropped ahead of the points. He's down to 11th because Brandon Mazzano has now passed him for 10th.
Boccolacci is fighting back, though, now, Chris, as they head towards this hairpin. He's going to have the inside line. And, well, superior drive, perhaps, from the Eilert car. This is brilliant stuff to watch. With just 30 seconds left on the clock. Here in replay. Ooh, end plate went missing there, didn't it?
Look how close to the wall Boccolacci was there. This is been his best race, I think, of the season. Driven well. The move on Jake Dennis was a bit shady, but the others have been good. Look at our race leader, though. He's well clear. On to the final lap of the race then, with less than a lap time left in this. Alex Albon still trying to get past George Russell for 2nd place. That win looks like he's going to elude him for a little bit longer at least, but it's on the cards for Alex Albon. He's definitely got the pace to be a race winner in this championship. And then just behind them is Charles Leclerc. But I think you're right now, he's going to sit there unless an opportunity is so tempting that he has to go for it. I think he'll settle for 4th place and more good points for the championship. Oh, I thought I was speaking too soon there.
Yeah.
Look at the inside, didn't he? This has been all better. Antonio Giovinazzi, though, the Italian, comes through to take the checkered flag, and he wins round 18 of the championship. Giovinazzi back on top. He wins. A difficult few weekends for him, but the Italian is back in the mix. He takes the victory from George Russell in 2nd place, with George's 2nd podium in a week and his 2nd best results of the season. Alex Albon with his 2nd podium of the weekend as well in 3rd place. That's certainly Alex's best all-round weekend, isn't it? 2nd or 3rd and a 5th. And Mikkel Jensen in 5th place. Santino Ferrucci bouncing back after the disappointment of yesterday with a good drive through to 6th. Callum Eilert really impressive in 7th place. Dorian Boccolacci, Alessio Lorandi and Brandon Mazzano rounding out the points. There he's won. Happy Italian.
He's pretty chuffed with that, isn't he?
The Carlin team cheering him on. So there is no 7th different winner. It's one of the old guard getting the victory. It's his 3rd win of the season, Antonio Giovinazzi. They're very quiet, very likeable. No doubt about it, Dave. Very talented Italian. He's going to get himself back in this championship fight. The weekend has belonged to Charles Leclerc. He's only won one of the races, but he's taken the majority of the points.
Well, the Carlin boys are pretty happy. They've had a busy week, haven't they? Because, of course, they've come straight down here from Spa. Been away from home.
Yep. I had to fix Gustavo Menezes' car.
Yes.
Muka Motorsport, up till 3 o'clock last night, Michele Beretti tells me having to fix his car. So, mammoth effort from the teams. Michele got tipped, barrel rolled into the wall yesterday at the hairpin. He's absolutely fine. Slightly wondering what he's done wrong to deserve all these hits he's been getting lately. But there is Giovinazzi. So he is going to be back up to 2nd place in the championship. He'll move on to 227 points, back ahead of Felix Rosenqvist, who failed to get into the points again with a 13th place finish. Jack Dennis pointless this weekend. 2 retirements, 11th in that one. So he'll stay 4th in the championship standings, but has lost quite a gap now to the drivers ahead of him. So Charles Leclerc finished 4th place, gets to 12 points, so he'll move on to 269.5 points. Antonio Giovinazzi will be 2nd in the championship on 227 by my reckoning. And then Felix Rosenqvist 3rd on 203, Jake Dennis 4th on 189. There's confirmation of the results from the Norisring. Antonio Giovinazzi and the Jagonia I Am With Carlin team take the win. Giovinazzi's 3rd of the season. George Russell in the Carlin car 2nd. Alex Albon rounding out the podium for signature. There are the rest of the results. Desperately disappointing weekend for Jake Dennis and for Felix Rosenquist, his teammate. It's been such an up and down season. There's been some real highs for Felix Rosenquist and for Jake Dennis, and there's been some weekends and races at the polar opposite end of the spectrum. It will be, to a certain extent, about consistency this year, and a lot of that out of the control of those two drivers. There's Charles Leclerc on the left, the championship leader. There's Alex Albon, who, he's not going to challenge for the championship this year, but he'll be up there in the top 4 or 5, I think, by the end of the season. And if he's back next year, he's had a really stunning debut season, I think. But you also have to bear in mind that Charles Leclerc is a rookie as well. We had a rookie winning the championship last year, of course, Esteban Ocon.
You said it yesterday. Look at him. He's just so Mr. Cool, isn't he?
You're not sure whether, if you took a photograph of him and you didn't see the race, you wouldn't be sure whether he'd finished 18th or 1st, no. Would you? Yeah, very good guy, Charles Leclerc. Good sportsman, great driver. Been impressed with him all year long. And he's been one of the best qualifiers as well. There's Giovinazzi. Terrific guy. And yeah, we talk about the pressure that maybe others, maybe himself, Felix Rosenquist, has coming into this championship as one of the favourites. But then you think, well, maybe there's a bit of that for Giovinazzi as well, with him having finished 6th last year, been a race winner last year. The 5 that beat him to the championship are not back. So there are the top 4 points, as I said. George Russell back into 5th place on 120. Max Gunther, no finish there, so he drops back to 6th on 111.5. Alex Albon, he's right behind him now, though. 7th on 110 points. Mikkel Jensen, Lance Stroll just behind it in 8th and 9th positions in the championship. So gap has really opened up now in terms of the points. But it's been a great weekend for this young man, Alexander Albon. He started the season in great fashion with a 4th and 2 6ths at Silverstone. He's gone even better this weekend. George Russell has had a sterling debut season as well. 2nd place for him. Antonio Giovinazzi, though, the race winner. So the top 3 drivers, Italian, Thai and British, make their way onto the podium. Carlin, the winning team, a joyful lot. Very pleased with their work and their drivers. And we're now going to have the Italian national anthem. Well done to Antonio Giovinazzi, up to 2nd in the championship, his 3rd race win of the season. And there is a legend, Tom Christensen, 9-time Le Mans winner, ex-DTM racer, presenting the winning trophy to Giovinazzi. What a treat. So great too. That's a great guest presenting trophies this year in the championship. Thomas Dill, who's the clerk of the course here, presents the winning team trophy to Carlin Motorsport. Worked their socks off as ever this weekend. The British team taking the Italian to the top step of the podium. Tom Christensen, who's also Vice President of the FIA Drivers' Commission, presents George Russell with his 2nd place trophy. Another Carlin driver, of course. And then Alex Albon receives his 3rd place trophy. Very likeable, very talented driver. Definitely one to watch for the future, and you can see why Lotus Formula 1 have put their backing into that young man. So it's been great to be able to talk about some great driving standards and some very good overtaking in that race. Yes, there were 1 or 2 niggles. There are always going to be, aren't there? But there were some real good demonstrations of close, fair, hard racing in that race, not least from these 3 drivers. Well done to them all. We'll next be moving on to Zandvoort for the 7th event of the season. We've got the Red Bull Ring in Austria to come at Spielberg, the wonderful circuit there. Portimao is the venue for round 9 as the champagne gets underway. And then the last 2 events of the season will be at the Nürburgring in Germany and Hockenheim in October. Great stuff. Been really entertaining racing this weekend. That was the best of them, I think, although we had an absolutely blinding finish to race 2 yesterday. Selfie time. And well done, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed the commentary from Dave Richardson and myself, Chris Hartley. Thanks very much for your company here at the Norisring with the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Bye for now.